Live from Topeka, Kansas.
A vote for Steve's opponent. His name is Paul Davis. He's not good. He's not good, you know that. Is a vote for a radical agenda of Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the legendary Maxine Waters. Here in Kansas, his opponent, Paul Davis, voted time after time to raise your taxes and fees. And he voted to give public benefits to illegal aliens. Not good. If you want to stop Nancy Pelosi from becoming Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, whoa, you better get out and vote for Steve Watkins, please. A majority of House Democrats have already sponsored a socialist takeover of health care. The Democrats' plan would eviscerate Medicare and eliminate Medicare Advantage for 20 million seniors. We want to protect Medicare. We will, as Republicans, protect Medicare for our great seniors who have earned it and paid for it. And we will always protect Americans with pre-existing conditions. We will take care of our great Americans with pre-existing conditions. Today's Democrats have embraced radical socialism and open borders. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country, folks. You don't have a country. Every single Democrat in the U.S. Senate has signed up for the open borders, and it's a bill. It's called the Open Borders Bill. What's going on? And it's written by, guess who? Dianne Feinstein. Remember the leaking, right? The leaking Dianne Feinstein. Did you leak? Did you leak, Dianne? Dianne, did you? No, 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 no. No, I didn't. I don't think. Wait, did we leak? No, he said no, we didn't leak. Oh, okay. Was that the worst body language you've ever seen? Was that the worst? No, I didn't leak. No, she didn't leak. That's what you're dealing with. If the Democrats' bill ever becomes law, a tidal wave of drugs and crime would pour into our nation like never, ever before. Democrats also support deadly sanctuary cities that release violent predators and bloodthirsty killers like MS-13 into our communities. Republicans believe our country should be a sanctuary for law-abiding Americans, not criminal aliens. And Republicans stand proudly with the brave men and women of ICE, Border Patrol, and law enforcement. They want to defund ICE. Can you believe it? You know how tough ICE is? When MS-13 sees ICE coming, they say, let's get out of here. But you know what? They can't, because they get caught. They get thrown, and they get thrown the hell out of the country. They can't. They don't like that. The Democrats want to get rid of ICE. And these are great Americans. By the way, ICE, great Americans. They happen to be tough people. I think we need some tough people. They're tough. No, MS-13 doesn't like ICE, and that's why I like ICE. But they really are. They're great Americans. They love our country, and they're not treated properly. They're not treated properly. I've seen it in Long Island. They go into a community. I grew up in that vicinity. I know every community out there. And they go into these communities, and these are rough people, MS-13. How they even come in, and we stop them at the border, but there's so many here from before us. from before us. And our laws are so bad, and we're getting them changed. It's tough. That's why we need more Republicans. But they come in, and Long Island, we send ICE, and they get in there, and they get them out, and it's like we're liberating a town. In this day and age, it's like in a war where, a foreign invader finally is being taken out. They're liberating a country or liberating a city or a town. These people are liberating these towns. And you know the story, and you've heard it, and it's all over. They cut people up because they don't want to use bullets. It's too fast, and it's not painful enough. And then when I said, animals, Nancy Pelosi said, how dare you speak that way about a human being? How dare you? This woman just said it to me. She screamed out the word animal. So how dare you call them? They're human beings. They're not. These are animals, folks. These are animals. And we need law enforcement. And we need ICE. And we need Border Patrol. These are great people. And if your community has a problem, don't worry about it. Just give us a call. We'll take care of it. Democrats are also fighting to give welfare and free health care to illegal aliens, paid for by you, the American taxpayer. Thank you very much. Republicans believe that the public benefits must be protected for the truly needy Americans. Americans that need help, not illegal aliens. If you want safety, if you want a border, if you want America to remain a sovereign, great country, then you must organize, mobilize, register, and vote Republican. We need more Republican votes. This election is about safety, and it's also about prosperity. Since the election, we have created over 4.2 million new jobs and lifted almost 4 million Americans off of food stamps. And we've added nearly 1.5 million manufacturing jobs. Think of that. If I ever said that during the campaign, look how many, oh man, that you are getting more and more people back there. Look how many reporters. Look. Wow. That's a lot. Wow. Wow. You know what I call it? I call it the Academy Awards. That's the Academy Award. You know, we're doing great. Our new polls just came out. I had to poll Rasmussen 51 or 52. They don't report that. They never report. But you know, and it's much higher than that because some people, I don't know if I'm happy about this, they say when they don't want to talk about it, that means they're voting for Trump. I don't know. Am I supposed to be thrilled? But we'll take it, right? We'll take it. That's what happened in 2016. A lot of people didn't want to talk about it. And the pollsters push it down, you know, okay, throw it. But now they learned their lesson. When they don't talk, they're Trump voters. All action. All action, no talk. African American unemployment has reached its lowest level in recorded history. African American poverty has reached its lowest rate ever recorded. By the way, can you imagine during the debate, if I have those stats, the best unemployment number ever for African Americans, best in terms of poverty ever in history for Africa? How do you win? How do you beat us on that? It's only habit. It's habit. Because for 100 years, African Americans have gone with Democrats, but now they're changing, and they're changing fast, and they're coming with us. Thank you, Kanye West. Thank you, Jim Brown, Big Jim Brown. Thank you, Iron Mike. I could go through, we have so many people. Big Jim Brown. We could use him right now in the NFL, right? Great people. Hispanic American and Asian American. Likewise, their unemployment rates have also reached all-time historic lows, the lowest. And women's unemployment just fell to 3.6%, the lowest rate in 65 years. And we are, as of right now, the world's #1 producer of crude oil and natural gas, energy. Number one. And since I took office, the value of Americans' mutual funds and pension funds has increased by $2.7 trillion. That's your money. That's your money. And your 401ks, you all look like a bunch of geniuses. Thank you, Donald, very much. You're all great investors, right? You're all great investors. That's okay. We've picked up 11, I was saying 10, I was saying 7. We picked up now 11.7. Larry Kudlow said it to me the other day. He said, sir, you're a little low on that number. I said, really? I was using $10 trillion. It's now $11.7 trillion in worth. 11, you know what that is? And China was catching us rapidly before I became president, and right now we are going so fast. We are the fastest developing country in the world. Can you believe that? Wow. Fastest in the world. And that's why I say we have a midterm coming up, an election. Historically, whoever's president, I don't know why this works, but whoever's, I guess people get complacent. You know, hey, we just won the presidency. Now 2 years later, we have an election, so they're complacent. And then we always win in the next one, which is, as you know, the presidential election. We always. So far, I'm dreaming of those candidates. I see those candidates before my eyes. Every night before I go to sleep. Sometimes while I'm sleeping, I love them so much. Cory Booker. Pocahontas. I've got more Indian blood in me than Pocahontas, and I have none. I mean, sadly, I have none, but I have more than she. They said to her, why do you say you're of Indian heritage? Well, my mother told me I have high cheekbones. That's the answer. Do you have any documentation? No, we don't. Oh, I see. You have high cheekbones. Well, I have high cheekbones, too. Hey, maybe I'm an Indian, and I'm going to do very well. But think of it. This is her reason. The whole thing's been a fraud, but that's okay. You know what? I want to be careful. I'm taking out so many of these people. I'm hitting them so hard that they're disappearing. And I don't want to do that. Because I may get somebody that's actually good to run against me, and that would not be good. I'll take out all the easy ones, and maybe I'll get stuck with somebody that's actually good, but I don't see any on that side. Well, Sleepy Joe Biden, who ran for president 2 or 3 times, you know, they say only twice. I think I remember a 3rd time in there. But he had 1% with an arrow pointing left. That means 1% or less. And then Obama took him off the trash heap. Well, he's one of the people. Remember, he challenged me to a fight? I'd like to take him behind the barn. I'd love that. That wouldn't last long. That would not last long. That wouldn't last long. Go like this. He's down, and he'll never get up. He'll never get up. He will never get up. No, I got to leave their candidates alone. Somebody actually said you're hitting these candidates really hard. Here's a non-candidate, you know. Da Nang Dick. He's a Da Nang Dick. That's Blumenthal. He talked about when I was in Da Nang province in Vietnam. And I was fighting up the hill and men are going left and right of me. They're dying. They're being struck by bullets. But I went back to their rescue. I went back and I got them. And then I made a second attempt. And bullets are going left and right and over my shoulders and they're hitting my men. And I used to think, wow, this guy's a pretty brave guy. And then I found out he's a fraud. He never was in Vietnam. And he stopped campaigning because there was no way you could win. No way. And because it's Connecticut, where, I guess, only a Democrat, can you believe this? That's why Connecticut's such a mess right now. Only a Democrat wins. You got to see it's a mess. General Electric just moved out. That doesn't help. But Da Nang Dick. And then I see him yesterday talking about a man who's #1 at Yale, has like this perfect record, the most incredible record. One of the reasons I picked him, he's like a perfect person. And Da Nang Dick, who said he was a great war hero, and he never saw the country. This wasn't like saying, hey, I was in the army. This is a guy that said he was charging up Da Nang province, right? Da Nang province. He's up that hill and he's taking bullets left and right. And he never saw the place. He was in the reserves, though, remember that. And he said, I demand honesty. This is true, exact words. I demand honesty, integrity, and I demand that there's no lying going around. And I'm saying, hey, wait a minute, that's the guy that lied about, in the history of our country, if you look at it, he lied. And this is one of the people. How bad? And then you have the Feinstein, and you have all the others, and you look at what's going. You don't want those people in office, folks. You've got to have great republic. And compare that with what you've seen with John Cornyn, who asked that great question to Diane and got her a little off base, like, you know, John Cornyn of Texas, and Lindsey Graham, who did such a great job. Did a great job. How good was Lindsey? How good was Lindsey? And you know what? He was speaking from the heart. He was speaking. And by the way, took a week, but that extra week was a great thing because it showed no corroboration, no nothing. No, by the way, no nothing. How good was Senator Susan Collins yesterday? Really? Really great. And Chuck Grassley, I'll tell you what, Chuck was great. He's got to be very happy with what we did on trade, right? Chuck from Iowa, great state. And Mitch McConnell, how good? How good? He was tough and smart. He was great. He worked hard, and we got ourselves the finest legal mind, one of the finest human beings. And again, what his family took, the horror that they had to endure by these people like Blumenthal and Cory Booker, who was a disaster as the mayor of Newark, New Jersey. What they had to take was a disgrace. The only reason to vote Democrat is if you're tired of winning, right? Tired of winning. We want to win, win, win. We never get tired of it. After years of rebuilding other nations, we are finally rebuilding our nation. You see what's happening. And I just left the United Nations last week, And I can tell you, and everybody else can tell you, and even the fake news can tell you, America is respected again. To create more jobs and rising wages, Republicans passed the biggest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history by far. We also passed Veterans' Choice, 44 years, giving our veterans the right to see a private doctor. And we pay for it. So they don't have to wait online for 25 days, 38 days, 14 days, 6 days. They go out and they see a private doctor. They get themselves a good doctor. We pay the bill. It's frankly so simple, but it took 44 years to get it done. We got it done. I'm good at getting things. I'm good at getting things. And we also passed, this is 45 years, the VA accountability law to ensure anyone who mistreats our veterans will be held accountable. You are fired. Get out. And we've secured a record $700 billion, and the next year, $716 billion to rebuild our military and to give our brave warriors their largest pay raise in almost a decade. And in my direction, the Pentagon is now working to create the 6th branch of the American Armed Forces, the Space Force. Very serious stuff. And it's happening quickly. It's very serious. That's where it's at. You know, you have to know where it's at. Doesn't sound right, but it's right. That's where it's at. Both defense and offense, that's where it's at. I withdrew the United States from the horrible, one-sided Iran nuclear deal. You know, before I became president, I looked at what was happening with Iran. They were taking over the Middle East. They were taking Syria. They were taking Yemen. They were going into Iraq. They were taking everything. Now, they just want to make it. They just want to say, they have riots in every city. Since I took over that operation, that horrible, horrible deal, that was, think of it, the previous administration gave Iran $150 billion. And even crazier, they gave them $1.8 billion in cash. Cash. Airplanes full of cash. In fact, I got in. I said, does the President of the United States actually have the power to give away $1.8 billion in cash? You know what the answer is? It's actually no. They don't. What they did there is a disgrace. They gave them 1.8 in order to have a terrible deal. Well, that was a hostage. They paid $1.8 billion. They paid $1.8 billion for hostages. Can you imagine? And we got our hostages back from North Korea. Right? Nothing. Zero. And we have a good relationship. And who knows what happens, but I think good things happen. No more missile testing, no more rocket testing, no more nuclear testing. We got the remains of our great, great heroes from 75 years ago back, and they keep coming back. And we got our hostages back. And good things are happening over there. You know what I always say? It's deals. Just before we signed the deal with Canada and Mexico, great deal. I said, who knows? I never like to say, who could you say? It's a deal. Who knows? I like to do it. It takes all the pressure off. Who knows? With North Korea, who knows? But I think we're doing very well, okay? The fake news says, why aren't you going faster? I said, listen, I just got back 3 months ago, right? I was there with Kim Jong-un. I was there 3 months ago. Chairman Kim, they say, why aren't you going faster? I said, what have people done for 75 years? 75. This is 3 months. And one of the anchors said, why has the president given away so much? And I said, what have I given? I haven't given anything. We got our hostages back for nothing, out of respect. Right? We got our remains back. We got the testing all stopped, including the nuclear testing. I said, tell me, what have we given? Well, you agreed to meet. Oh, that doesn't cost me very much. I agreed to meet. I like to meet. I like to meet. What the hell do we lose by meeting? I asked the previous administration. Now, that's what I gave away. I agreed to meet. Can you believe it? These people are sick. I agreed to meet. Can you imagine how well we'd do if we actually had fair press? Can you imagine? No, can you imagine? Instead of fake news. I agreed to meet. I'm sorry I agreed to meet. And then they said, right? You know, the rhetoric was extremely tough that first couple of months. And President Obama said, at my meeting with him, he said, the biggest problem we have by far is North Korea. They would have gone to war. Millions and millions of people would have been killed. Millions of people. And I said to somebody in their administration, have you ever talked? Have you ever agreed to meet? Have you ever, like, let's sit down and talk? Well, we haven't thought about, oh, I see, you'll go to war. You're not going to talk? We'll beat anybody. What we have now coming in, I'm telling you, it's the greatest power we've ever had, the greatest power in the world. You know why I have that? Because I don't want to use it. And when you have it, nobody's going to mess with us, okay? Nobody. I don't want to use it. Greatest power in the world. 716 billion, greatest power in the world. But we're doing great. And we have recognized the capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. That's the other story I tell. That's the other story we tell. That's a big one. That's a big, big story. You know why? Because other presidents all said they're going to do it. Many, many presidents. We're going to do it, we're going to do it. Then the pressure goes on them and they don't do it. And I see why. I don't blame them. Every leader called me up. Don't do it, please don't do it, don't do it. You know the story. I've refused to take their phone calls. I said, tell them I'll call them back on Thursday. Next week. And I'm signing like on Wednesday. Tell them I'm calling them back on Thursday. I look forward to speaking to them. Then I sign the deal, announce the deal. Then I call them back. Yeah, hi, how you doing? What's up? Wow. We wanted to talk to you about Israel, but it's a little late. And the embassy, which was going to cost over $1 billion, we built it for about $400,000, right? You know that, right? And the billion would have taken probably 20 years before you ever got to build it. And we took a piece of land that we owned, already owned, and it had a building on it. Okay, building. We fixed the building up a little bit. We took the big space in the corner. We used even Jerusalem stone, which is a very expensive era builder. Jerusalem stone is beautiful. How nice is that? And you know, Jerusalem stone in Jerusalem sounds about right. And we got it for the right price. And we built it for less than $500,000. Think of it. And we opened it a bit. It's open now. We have our embassy. So we saved $1 billion in 20 years. And we have our embassy. We could do that with hundreds of things. For years, you watched as your leaders apologized for America. And now you have a president who is standing up for America. We're standing up for your values. We're standing up for Kansas, and we're standing proudly. We are standing proudly for our great national anthem, right? And I just helped Canada and the NFL make a deal that they've been trying to make for years. Can you believe it? Canada was taking advantage of the NFL. The NFL couldn't get it done. It took me about 2 seconds because it's peanuts. It's a lot of money, but it's not compared to corn and crops and dairy and milk and cars and steel and everything else. It's peanuts. I say, you got to take care of it. It's not right because I want to help American companies. It took me like 2 minutes, and we got it done. And I got a call from the commissioner of the NFL, and I thought he was calling me to ask me to stop haunting them about standing for the American flag and for our nation. And he didn't. He called me to thank me. He said, the previous administration could not get it done, and you got it done. We didn't even know you were trying to do it. Isn't that right? So now they'll have a lot more money to give to their players, and their players will still hate me, but that's okay. Stand for our anthem, just as long as they stand. Just as long as they stand for our flag and our anthem, I don't care how they feel about me. But to continue our incredible momentum, you have to get your friends, your family, your neighbors, your co-workers, and get out and vote Republican. We need more people in D.C. We don't have enough. Vote to send Chris Kobach to the governor's mansion and vote to send Steve Watkins to Congress. We'll always vote for Trump. A vote for Republicans is a vote for lower taxes, less regulation, and more products made right here in the USA. Finally. We want it made here. It's a vote to respect our borders, respect our Constitution, and respect the heroes of law enforcement. And that's what they are. They're our heroes. And a vote for Republicans is a vote to reject the Democrat politics of anger and division and destruction and to reclaim America's true heritage and righteous destiny. We're losing that with these crazy loco people. To everyone in this room tonight, that's a lot of people, to every citizen watching across our land, this is your time to choose. It's a time to choose whether we turn backward to the failure and frustration of the past, or whether we continue forward into a future of American greatness. It's not up to the media. It's not up to the pundits. It's up to you to decide your fate. And remember this, what happened in 2016 and what's happening even more so now, I believe, because I produced, and people see I produced. One of them said he made a lot of promises, and he actually produced more than he made promises. I mean, think about it. I did. You have the power with your vote to defend your family, your community, your country, and everything we hold sacred and righteous and true. Loyal citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country, returning power to everyday great American patriots. The state of Kansas was settled by tough pioneer men and strong women who defied danger and braved the wilderness to build a beautiful life on the plains. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Strong women, strong women. Strong. I'm sorry, fellas. Stronger than the men. I'm sorry, fellas. Strong. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of luxury. but they all had one thing in common. They loved their families, they loved their country, and they loved their God. These courageous patriots did not shed their blood, sweat, and tears so that we could sit at home while others tried to erase their legacy and destroy our proud and great American heritage. For the sake of our freedom and for the sake of our children, we are going to work, we are going to fight, and we are going to win, win, win. We will not bend. We will not break. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down. We will never surrender. And we will always fight on to victory. Because we are American and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together, we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Kansas. Thank you. Thank you.
I always love it. President Trump just wrapping up a rally in Topeka, Kansas. A really very, very positive speech on an incredible day where we witnessed history with an associate justice being confirmed and sworn in to the United States Supreme Court. It's the culmination of one of the most contentious Supreme Court hearings that we've ever seen in American history. And this president, of course, in Topeka, Kansas, talking about all of the great things that have been done. A huge day for him, a huge day for the Republican Party as he continues to march through the country to get people to support the candidates in their states just prior to the midterm. A fired-up President Trump clearly doing what he does best, just wrapping up that rally speech in Topeka, Kansas. Well, we have a political panel here tonight. CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp, an NRA TV contributor, former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino, to break it all down tonight. All right, guys, first of all, I just want to get your take on the huge day that the president had. I mean, you could sense the excitement of the crowd, the excitement of the president today. What do you think, Matt?
What I think is interesting is that we had one of the biggest votes that we'll ever see in the United States Senate with Brett Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh. And you can see how intertwined it is in politics, because here the president is out at the rally. What's the #1 thing they wanted to hear about? They wanted to hear about this great victory at the Supreme Court. It means that this victory by President Trump with Kavanaugh is going to make Republicans' jobs easier in November.
Well, and you know, Dan Bongino, last week you had quite an energized panel discussion with Chris Hahn talking about how horrible Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh, was treated. This week was an incredible week in terms of the turnaround with the president in Mississippi and how he then kind of changed the conversation back to Christine Ford. What would you say to Chris Hahn, who isn't here tonight?
You know, I was disappointed in Chris last week because he's a personal friend of mine, but he did something last week that disgusted me. He attacked and he jumped on this liberal train to destroy this good man, Brett Kavanaugh, a patriot. And I mean, a really good man, Judge. I was deeply offended by that. But today, this is a vindication. And Chris, you know what? You know what I got to say? How you like them apples? That's what I got to say. Reminds me of that scene in Good Will Hunting when he knocks, so you like apples? How you like them apples? This was a vindication, Judge. A vindication of, one more point on this, a vindication of Trumpism, and Matt knows it too. Listen, for too long we've been in a boxing match, a political boxing match with the left wearing brass knuckles, and we're appealing to the ref The media, please tell him to take the brass knuckles off. Trump took the gloves off. He's fought back. We got tax cuts, economic growth, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh. Trumpism's been vindicated. Take a victory lap tonight.
It's unbelievable. In fact, all my viewers, the president is going to be calling in the next few minutes. I'm sure after he gets out of the arena there in Topeka, Kansas, we'll be able to talk to him. On, I think, one of the most exciting days of his presidency. I mean, who could have predicted that this would actually happen, Matt? I mean, it was Brett Kavanaugh went from this great circuit court judge to a guy involved in gang rapes, a sexual predator. I mean, it was, I think, some of the darkest days they had to be of Brett Kavanaugh's life. And now he's back up and just sworn in as an associate justice of the Supreme Court.
And it shows you how our politics has changed, because the only reason that happened is that Brett Kavanaugh went to that hearing in the Senate and connected with the American people and honestly and aggressively pushed back on these scurrilous charges. It was that moment that sealed his fate so that he would actually be confirmed in the Senate. And I think there were people across this country who were so enthralled, I think maybe even people in the White House there as well, by the sheer honesty and the emotion of all this, because every American felt the pain of this. They know what it's like when someone gets railroaded, and he was the personification of great injustice.
You know, it wasn't just being railroaded, Matt, and I'll go to you, Dan. It was about eliminating the presumption of innocence. Right. It was about a mob rule dictating that all women should be believed and men should just shut up. My fear was that Lady Justice was not only, you know, having the bandage ripped off and told which way to go, but that she was being thrown out of the game totally. And that was frightening, I think, to a lot of Americans who believe in the system, believe in the presumption of innocence. And I think it may have brought out people who would never have really cared about a Supreme Court nomination.
Right, but Judge, the reason we won here is important. What you just said is absolutely accurate. The left has done this before. They lob a grenade onto the political battlefield, and that grenade ends in ist. Racist, misogynist. In this case, it was rapist, which was disgusting. Wow. And in the past, a lesser president, Judge, would have backed away immediately and said, hey, Judge, for the better of the country, step aside. Trump said, no, not today. And Matt hit the nail on the head. When Brett Kavanaugh got up there and said, not today, not on my watch. I may not sit on the Supreme Court, but you're not going to crap on my reputation and decades of good work for this country and my family. Matt is absolutely right. Trump was there for him. He knew he was there for him. And the corner turned, and the American people were energized, and the Democrat air got out of that balloon stack.
Dan, I'm going to interrupt you. As I said, we have the president calling in, and I understand that joining me now by phone is the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Mr. President?
Well, Dan sounded very good, very good. We appreciate Dan.
Yeah, Dan is a great guy. But